A diamond ring on a girl's hand in a desert garage unveils a lost family's truth. Don't miss this heart-pounding tale. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for our latest epic videos. Ethan's Mustang roared across the desert, its engine snarling until the steering wheel seized, wrenching his arms. Tires screeched, the horizon lurching as the car spun, a jagged boulder looming like a guillotine. His heart slammed, foot stomping the brake, the car skidding wildly, gravel blasting outward, halting inches from the rock. Dust choked the air, the engine coughing before dying with a hiss. Ethan's breath heaved, hands trembling, sweat stinging his eyes as he pounded the dashboard. Cursing, the desert stretched empty, heat waves warping the road, his phone lifeless in his hand. His million-dollar empire meant nothing here, stranded miles from civilization. He kicked the door open, stumbling onto the blistering pavement, scanning the horizon for any sign of help. A distant clank snapped his head around, his eyes locking on a small figure trudging from a rusted garage nestled among dunes. Jayla, a 9-year-old black girl, her hands smeared with grease, dragged a heavy toolbox, her steps purposeful. "Car broke," she called, her voice cutting through the oppressive heat. Ethan's jaw tightened, waving her off, his tone sharp. "Not your problem, kid. Scram." Jayla didn't blink, dropping the toolbox with a crash, her wrench already in hand as she marched to the Mustang, popping the hood with a single motion. "Fuel lines clogged," she said, leaning into the engine, her fingers working the pipes with startling precision. Ethan's irritation flared, his voice a bark. "You're wasting my time. Step back." Jayla ignored him, tightening a bolt, her eyes focused. Unfazed by his dismissal, Ethan stepped closer, ready to yank her away. But a glint on her hand stopped him dead, a diamond ring, its unique design searing into his brain. It was the one-of-a-kind ring he'd crafted for his wife, Clara, before she vanished 7 years ago. His breath caught, his hand shooting out, grabbing Jayla's wrist with a vice-like grip. "Where'd you steal that ring?" he growled, his voice a mix of shock and accusation, his eyes boring into hers. Jayla twisted free, her wrench raised like a club, her shout fierce. "Don't touch me!" She backed up, her stance coiled, ready to strike. Ethan's pulse thundered, his mind racing. Clara's ring, on a kid in this nowhere desert. "Who gave it to you?" he demanded, advancing, his voice low, edged with desperation. Jayla's glare didn't waver, but she answered, "My mom." The word hit Ethan like a fist, his knees buckling, his hand grabbing the Mustang's frame to steady himself. "Your mom's name," he snapped, his voice shaking, his vision narrowing. Jayla's eyes flickered, her voice dropping. "She's gone." Crash. Years ago. Ethan's world tilted, the desert's heat closing in. Clara, dead. He staggered, memories flooding Clara's voice, her hands, her disappearance after a relief mission. "That's impossible," he muttered, his eyes locked on the ring. Jayla watched, her wrench lowering slightly, her voice cautious. "You sick?" Ethan shook his head, his resolve hardening, his voice hard. "Take me to your place. Now." Jayla hesitated, her eyes searching his, then nodded toward the garage, leading him with deliberate steps. Ethan followed, his heart hammering, the ring a magnet pulling him into a mystery. The garage was a chaotic fortress of scattered tools, engine parts strewn across benches, oil drums leaning against cracked walls. Amos, Jayla's grandfather, burst from a back room, wiping grease, his eyes narrowing as he spotted Ethan. "Who's this?" Amos growled, snatching a crowbar, planting himself between Jayla and Ethan, his stance a warning. Ethan raised his hands, his voice steady but urgent. "That ring, it was my wife's." Amos's grip tightened, his voice a snarl. "You're trouble. Get out." Jayla stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Grandpa, He knows the ring. Ethan's eyes darted between them, his mind screaming for answers. Tell me about her mom, he said, closing the gap. But Amos lunged, swinging the crowbar, stopping inches from Ethan's face. Not one step closer. Amos roared, his eyes blazing. Jayla shoved between them, her shout piercing, "Stop! He's not here to fight." Ethan's fists clenched, but he backed off, his eyes glued to the ring. 7 years ago, my wife vanished. That ring was hers. I need the truth. Amos's crowbar dipped, his eyes wavering, but he stayed silent, his distrust palpable. Jayla climbed onto a workbench, her small hands gripping its edge, and spoke. Mom was a nurse. Saved a man in a fire at a clinic out here, then crashed. Never came back. Ethan's blood froze. He was that man. Pulled from flames, his lungs burning, his memory a haze of smoke and pain. I was him, he whispered, sinking onto a crate, his hands trembling, the truth clawing at him. Jayla's eyes widened, her wrench clattering to the floor, rolling under a bench. You knew her, she asked, scrambling closer, her voice urgent. Ethan nodded, his voice raw. She saved my life. Amos's face softened, but he jabbed a finger toward the door. Prove it, or you're gone. Ethan's hand shot toward the ring, stopping short. This is proof. I designed it for her. Jayla's fingers brushed the ring, her eyes searching his, her breath quickening. Ethan's voice grew desperate. What else did she say? Where'd she go? Jayla's eyes flicked to Amos, who shook his head, his crowbar still in hand. She didn't tell us much, Jayla said, her voice low. Just gave me this ring. Said it'd protect me. Ethan's mind raced Clara, alive after the fire, hiding. He stood, his voice sharp. There's more. I need to see her things. Amos stepped forward, his crowbar rising again, but Jayla's shout stopped him. Grandpa, let him try. The garage door rattled, a gust of wind slamming it, masking a shadow outside the man in the suit, sent by Ethan's rivals. Crouching behind a dune, his phone filming. He texted, he's digging deep. Send the crew tonight. Ethan didn't notice. His focus on Jayla. Show me where she kept her stuff, he said, his voice urgent. Amos's eyes narrowed, but he tossed a key to a locked cabinet, his voice gruff. Look, then leave. Ethan lunged for the cabinet, yanking it open, papers spilling Clara's handwriting, notes about a crash, a warning they're watching. His blood ran cold. Someone had hunted Clara. The garage shook as a distant engine roared, headlights flickering on the horizon. Jayla grabbed her wrench. Amos tightened his grip, and Ethan stood, his fists ready, the ring's glint a call to fight. Ethan's hands trembled as he clutched Clara's photo, the diamond ring on Jayla's finger searing his vision, its glint a lifeline to his lost wife. The desert garage, littered with tools and oil drums, pulsed with tension after his near crash and the shocking truth. Clara, Jayla's mother, had saved him from a clinic fire 7 years ago. Jayla, a 9-year-old black girl, stood on a workbench, her wrench gripped tight, her eyes locked on Ethan, who just declared he was the man her mother rescued. Amos, her grandfather, leaned against a crate, his crowbar dangling, his voice a growl. You barge in, claim my daughter's ring, and expect trust. Ethan's jaw clenched, his tire iron resting on the Mustang's hood outside, his voice steady but urgent. I'm not leaving until I know why Clara hid. Jayla's fingers brushed the ring, her voice sharp. Mom gave it to me, said it'd keep me safe. Ethan's heart twisted, his step forward halted as Amos raised his crowbar, his shout fierce. Back off, Jayla jumped down, shoving between them, her wrench raised, her cry piercing. Stop fighting, he knew Mom. Ethan's fists clenched, his eyes on Jayla, her fire a mirror of Clara's. Tell me everything, he demanded, his voice low, desperate. Jayla climbed back onto the bench, her hands gripping its edge, and spoke. Mom was a nurse. Pulled a man from a fire, got hurt, then crashed out here. She came back, stayed a year, taught me engines, gave me this ring, then left. Ethan's knees buckled, his hand grabbing a toolbox to steady himself. The memory of flames in Clara's hands flooding back. That was me, he rasped, his voice breaking, sinking onto a crate. She saved my life. Jayla's eyes widened, her wrench slipping, clattering to the floor. You, she whispered, scrambling closer, her hands shaking. Amos's crowbar hit the ground, his voice hoarse. Clara never said who. Ethan's mind raced, his voice urgent. She didn't die in the crash. Did she? Amos's eyes darkened, his silence heavy, but Jayla's voice cut through. She hid here, said people were after her. Ethan's pulse spiked, his hands slamming the crate. Who? Who was after her? Amos stepped forward, his voice low. You tell me. You're the rich man. Ethan's eyes narrowed, his resolve hardening. My rivals. They wanted my money. Jayla's voice trembled. Mom was scared, said the ring was my protection. Ethan stood, his voice sharp. Where's her stuff? Amos hesitated, then tossed in a key to a locked trunk, his voice gruff. Look, but don't touch her. Ethan lunged for the trunk, prying it open, papers spilling Clara's notes, a map of the desert, warnings scribbled. They're watching. Keep Jayla safe. Ethan's blood ran cold, his fingers tracing her handwriting. The truth clawing at him, Clara had fled to shield Jayla from his enemies. She was protecting you, he whispered, turning to Jayla, who clutched the ring, her eyes filling. Why didn't she tell me? Jayla asked, her voice breaking. Amos pulled her close, his voice soft. She wanted you free. Ethan's hand gripped the papers, his voice fierce. I'm finding them. Whoever chased her, they're done. The garage door shuddered, a gust of wind slamming it, but Ethan's eyes caught a flicker outside, a shadow darting behind a dune. The man in the suit, Ethan's rival's agent, crouched, his phone filming, texting. He's got her papers. Send the crew. Ethan didn't see, his focus on Amos. You knew she was alive. Why hide it? Amos's fist hit a workbench, tools rattling. You didn't come looking. She said you'd bring trouble. Jayla's shout broke the clash. He's here now. Let him help. The tension snapped as engines roared. 3 trucks tearing into the yard, headlights flooding the garage. The man in the suit stepped from the lead truck, flanked by 5 thugs, pipes and chains in hand. Give us the ring, he called, his voice icy, his phone streaming. Ethan grabbed his tire iron, shoving Jayla behind a crate, his voice a growl over my dead body. Amos snatched his crowbar, slamming it against an oil drum, the clang a warning. Jayla ducked, grabbing a hammer, her eyes fierce. The thugs charged, one swinging a pipe, smashing a workbench, wood splintering. Ethan swung his tire iron, cracking a thug's arm, sending him down. Jayla hurled her hammer, clipping a thug's shoulder, his chain clattering. Amos tackled another, his crowbar locking the man's wrist, twisting until he dropped. A thug kicked a crate, tools flying, but Ethan dodged, tackling him, his fist connecting, blood spattering. Jayla scrambled onto a shelf, shoving engine parts gears, bolts crashing down, tripping 2 thugs. Amos slammed the garage door, jamming it with a steel rod, blocking the rest. The man in the suit retreated to his truck, his voice low. Regroup. Tomorrow. His engine roared, trucks peeling out, dust swirling. Ethan's chest heaved, his tire iron still raised, his eyes on Jayla, her hammer in hand, her breath ragged. You okay? He asked, stepping closer. Jayla nodded, her fingers on the ring, her voice firm. They won't win. Amos dropped his crowbar, his voice hoarse. Clara fought like that. Ethan knelt, his hand on Clara's papers. We're ending this. Together. Jayla's eyes met his, her fire unyielding. For Mom. The desert night deepened, the thug's threat lingering, Clara's secrets a spark ready to ignite. Ethan's Mustang tore through the desert night, its engine roaring as he gripped the wheel. Clara's papers proof she'd hidden to protect Jayla shoved under the seat. The garage attack, with pipes crashing and flames licking the walls, still burned in his mind. The thug's threat echoing they'd return for the ring. Jayla, 9 years old, sat in the back seat, her wrench clutched tight, her eyes scanning the dark, while Amos, her grandfather, gripped his crowbar, his voice low. "You're dragging us into your war." Ethan's jaw clenched, his voice sharp. "Clara's war, I'm finishing it." His phone buzzed, a signal flickering, and he dialed Vargas, his private investigator, his command urgent. "Find records of a clinic fire and a crash. 7 years ago. Clara Holt's name." Vargas's voice crackled. "Got a lead old hospital. Shut down after the crash. Files might be there." Ethan floored the Mustang lurching, his mind racing. Clara, alive after saving him, hiding from his rivals. He glanced at Jayla in the rear view, her ring glinting, her voice wary. "Why's this hospital matter?" Ethan's grip tightened. "Your mom was there. We'll find her trail." At the garage, Jayla had slipped into a shed, her flashlight slicing through dust, unearthing a metal box buried under engine parts. She'd pried it open, papers spilling Clara's notes, a map marked with the hospital, a warning they're close. "Protect Jayla." Her hands shook as she stuffed the map into her toolbox, sprinting to Amos, who'd barred the door after the attack. "Mom was scared," Jayla said, thrusting the map at him, her voice fierce. "We gotta go." Amos's eyes darkened, his crowbar tapping a crate. "It's a trap!" Jayla's shout cut through. "I'm not waiting!" Ethan's Mustang screeched back, headlights flooding the yard, his voice urgent. "Hospital's our shot. You in?" Jayla nodded, clutching her toolbox. But Amos grabbed her arm, his voice a growl. "You're too young." Jayla yanked free, her wrench raised. "Mom fought." "I will too." Ethan's eyes met hers, his resolve steel. "Let's move." Amos relented, tossing his crowbar in the car, the trio piling in, the Mustang peeling out, sand spraying. A black SUV trailed, its driver the man in the suit, Ethan's rival's agent texting. They were heading to the hospital. Set the trap. The hospital loomed, a decaying husk swallowed by dunes, its walls cracked, windows boarded. Ethan smashed a board with his tire iron, the crack echoing, and kicked the door open, dust billowing. Jayla's flashlight swept the halls, Amos trailing, his crowbar ready. The air was thick, files scattered across a shattered desk. Jayla dove for a cabinet, wrenching drawers, papers flying, her hands finding a file labeled Jane Doe, crash victim. Ethan snatched it, his eyes scanning Clara's photo, her injuries listed, discharged without a trace. She survived, he whispered, his voice breaking, but a creak snapped his head up. Shadows shifted, the man in the suit emerging from a corridor, flanked by 4 thugs, their pipes glinting. "Hand over the file," he said, his voice cold, his phone filming. Ethan shoved Jayla behind a desk, his tire iron raised, his growl fierce. "Come get it." Amos swung at his crowbar, smashing a thug's pipe, the clang ringing. Jayla hurled a drawer, papers exploding, tripping another thug. Ethan charged, tackling a third, his tire iron cracking against a shoulder, sending the man down. The man in the suit lunged for Jayla, grabbing her arm, his shout sharp. "The ring!" "Kid," Jayla twisted, kicking his shin, her wrench swinging, grazing his wrist. Amos tackled the 4th thug, his crowbar locking the man's arm, slamming him into a wall, plaster crumbling. Ethan wrestled the man in the suit, his fist connecting, the phone skidding across the floor. its screen flashing. Jayla grabbed the file, sprinting for a side exit, her shout urgent. Go! Ethan shoved the man aside, covering Amos as they bolted. The thugs scrambling, pipes clanging. They dove into the Mustang, Ethan flooring the gas, the car lurching, swerving to dodge a spike strip the thugs had tossed. The SUV gave chase, its headlights glaring. The man in the suit leaning out, shouting, You can't run! Jayla clutched the file, her voice fierce. They won't stop us. Ethan swerved again, the Mustang's tires screaming, a dune shielding them as the SUV skidded, losing ground. The man in the suit cursed, texting they escaped with the file. Regroup at the garage. Ethan's chest heaved, his eyes on Jayla in the rear view, her fire unyielding. You're tough, he said, his voice low. Jayla's eyes met his, her wrench still in hand. Mom was tougher. Amos gripped his crowbar, his voice gruff. She'd be proud. Ethan's hand tightened on the wheel, the file a key to Clara's truth, but the hospital's shadows lingered. Back at the garage, Jayla flipped through the file, her flashlight catching a note in Clara's handwriting. If I'm gone, find Ethan. He'll fight for you. Her eyes filled, her voice soft. She knew you'd come. Ethan's throat tightened, his resolve hardening. I'm not stopping. Amos barred the door, his crowbar ready, the desert silence a warning of the next strike. The ring's glint a vow to uncover Clara's fate. A gunshot cracked, the Mustang's tire exploding as Ethan swerved, the car skidding across the desert road, gravel spraying like shrapnel. Jayla's scream pierced the night, her wrench clutched tight, as Amos gripped his crowbar, his shout fierce ambush. Ethan slammed the brakes, the hospital file on Clara proof she'd survived sliding under the seat. His heart pounding from their escape at the abandoned hospital. Headlights flared, 3 trucks cutting them off, their engines roaring, blocking the path to the garage. The man in the suit, Grayson's agent, leaped from the lead truck, flanked by 6 thugs, pipes and chains glinting, his voice cold. Ring Ethan, or you're all dead. Ethan kicked the door open, tire iron raised, his growl defiant. Try it. Jayla, 9 years old, dove to the floorboard, her fingers on Clara's diamond ring, her voice sharp. They're not getting Mom's ring. Amos rolled out, crowbar swinging, smashing a thug's pipe, the clang echoing. Ethan charged, tackling a thug, his tire iron cracking ribs, sending the man sprawling. The thugs fired another shot, the bullet grazing the Mustang's hood, sparks flying. Jayla scrambled to the back, hurling a wrench, striking a thug's hand, his chain clattering. Ethan shoved Amos behind the car, his voice urgent. Cover Jayla. They sprinted for a dune, bullets kicking up sand, reaching the garage's yard, its rusted walls a fragile fortress. Inside, Amos jammed a steel rod across the door, his shout fierce. They're coming! Ethan barricaded a window, his tire iron ready, while Jayla grabbed a hammer, her eyes blazing. The truck screeched closer, headlights flooding the garage, the man in the suit shouting, Burn it down. A Molotov cocktail sailed through a window, glass shattering, flames erupting, licking the walls. Jayla dove for a fire extinguisher, foam spraying as she fought the blaze, her hands shaking but relentless. Ethan stomped embers, his voice sharp. Jayla, stay back. She ignored him, scrambling onto a workbench, shoving engine blocks, metal crashing down, blocking a thug's path. Amos swung his crowbar, smashing a thug's arm, the man howling, his pipe falling. A trap triggered a tripwire rigged by the thugs, yanking a stack of crates, wood splintering toward Ethan. Jayla lunged, shoving him clear, the crates slamming the floor, dust choking the air. You okay? She gasped, her hammer raised. Ethan nodded, his tire iron swinging, cracking a thug's knee, sending him down. The man in the suit charged, grabbing Jayla's arm, his voice a hiss. The ring. Kid. Jayla bit his wrist, twisting free, her wrench clipping his jaw, blood spattering. Ethan tackled the man, his fist connecting, the phone skidding across the dirt, its screen flashing. A thug swung a chain, grazing Amos's shoulder, but he spun, his crowbar locking the man's arm, slamming him into a wall, plaster crumbling. The flames surged, a beam groaning, threatening collapse. Jayla sprayed more foam, her shout defiant. "We're not losing," Ethan wrestled a thug, his knee pinning the man's chest, his voice a snarl. "Who's Grayson's buyer?" The thug choked, gasping, "You'll find out." Ethan's eyes narrowed. Grayson's network was deeper than he'd feared. A truck revved, its battering ram smashing the garage door, metal buckling. Amos braced it, his crowbar wedged, but the door splintered. Thugs pouring in. Jayla cranked a winch, dropping a pile of tires, blocking the breach. Her hands raw, her voice fierce. "Keep them out!" Ethan yanked a thug from the ram, smashing his pipe into the truck's engine, sparks flying, disabling it. The man in the suit scrambled to a truck, his voice a hiss. "This isn't over." His engines roared, trucks retreating, dust swirling, but his phone pinged. "Hit them at dawn. Take the kid." Ethan's chest heaved, his tire iron dripping oil, his eyes on Jayla, her hammer still raised, her breath ragged. "You're tough," he said, his voice low. Jayla's eyes blazed, her fingers on the ring Mom taught me. Amos dropped his crowbar, his face grim, his voice hoarse. "She'd fight like this." Ethan sank to a crate, the hospital file in hand, his mind racing. "Grayson wants the ring to get to Clara's secrets," he said, his voice grim. Amos's silence broke, his hand kicking open a hidden safe, papers spilling Clara's letters. Desperate, Grayson's men want Ethan's fortune. I hid Jayla to save her. Ethan's blood froze, his fingers gripping the letters. Clara's fear raw. "She stayed here," Amos said, his voice cracking. "Gave Jayla the ring, taught her to survive, then vanished to draw Grayson's men away." Jayla's eyes filled, her voice breaking. "Why didn't she tell me?" Amos knelt, his hand on her shoulder. "She wanted you fearless." Ethan stood, his voice steel. "Grayson's finished. I'm taking him down." Jayla's eyes met his, her wrench steady. "I'm with you." Amos gripped her arm, his voice gruff. "You're too young." Jayla yanked free, her shout fierce. "Mom fought for me. I'm fighting too." The garage smoldered, its door battered, the desert night heavy with Grayson's threat. But the ring's glint was a vow Clara's legacy would endure, and Jayla's fire would burn through the dark. Ethan's boots crunched on shattered glass, the garage's smoldering wreckage a testament to Grayson's latest assault, the air thick with ash and the tang of spilled oil. Clara's letters, clutched in his hand, burned with truth she'd hidden Jayla to shield her from his enemies. Jayla, 9 years old, stood on a crate, her wrench gripped tight, her eyes blazing as she scanned the battered door. Her diamond ring, Clara's ring, glinting under flickering lights. Amos, her grandfather, leaned against a workbench, his crowbar bloodied, his voice a growl. "They'll hit again. Dawn's coming." Ethan's pulse thundered, his tire iron resting on a crate, Clara's hospital file tucked into his jacket. It's proof of her survival, of fragile hope. His phone buzzed, Vargas's voice crackling, DNA kits at the drop point. Test the kid. Clara's records match. Ethan's jaw clenched, his eyes locking on Jayla, her fire a mirror of Clara's. "Stay sharp," he said, his voice low, tossing Amos a nod as he slipped out. The desert night swallowing him. Grayson's man in the suit, lurking behind a dune, texted, "He's moving. Follow." Ethan sprinted to a rusted shed, prying open a lockbox, snatching the DNA kit, a swab, a vial, a promise of truth. Back at the garage, Jayla's eyes narrowed as he knelt, his voice soft. "I need a sample. Your cheek." Jayla's wrench twitched, her voice sharp, while Ethan's hand steadied her shoulder, his gaze unflinching. To know who you are, Jayla hesitated, her fingers brushing the ring, then nodded, opening her mouth, the swab quick, the vial sealed. Amos's crowbar tapped a crate, his voice gruff. You're digging deep. Holt. Hope you're ready. Ethan's eyes darkened, the vial in his pocket a ticking bomb. Dawn broke, the horizon bleeding red. As Ethan sped to a back alley lab, the Mustang's engine roaring, Jayla and Amos in tow. The lab's door creaked, a tech in a stained coat snatching the vial, his machines humming. Results promised in hours. Ethan's phone pinged a news alert, billionaire Ethan Holt linked to desert mystery ring. His blood froze, the media storm erupting, cameras already swarming the garage's coordinates. Grayson leaked it, Ethan snarled, slamming the wheel, the Mustang screeching back, dust trailing. Jayla's eyes widened, her wrench clutched tighter. They know where we are. Amos's crowbar hit the dash, his shout fierce. Trapped, the garage loomed, news vans clogging the road, reporters shouting, drones buzzing overhead. Ethan swerved through, tires screaming, crashing the gate, barricading the door. Jayla dove for a workbench, grabbing a hammer, her voice defiant. They won't get in. Ethan's phone rang. Vargas's voice urgent. DNA's back. She's yours. Holt. Clara's daughter. Ethan's knees buckled, his hand gripping a crate. Jayla's face, Clara's eyes searing his soul. You're my daughter, he whispered, his voice breaking. Stepping toward her, Jayla's hammer froze, her eyes filling, her shout raw. What? Amos's crowbar clattered, his voice hoarse. Clara never told her. Jayla backed up, her wrench raised, her voice trembling. You're lying. Ethan knelt, his hands open, Clara's letter spilling. Your mom hid you to save you. I'm here now. Jayla's ring glinted, her breath hitching, the truth sinking in. A drone crashed through a window, its camera flashing, broadcasting live. Ethan yanked it down, smashing it. But the damage was done. Grayson's men knew. Engines roared, 3 trucks tearing into the yard. The man in the suit leading, flanked by 8 thugs, pipes and machetes gleaming. Hand her over. Holt, he shouted, his phone streaming, his voice cold. She's worth billions. Ethan shoved Jayla behind a crate, his tire iron raised, his growl fierce. Over my body. Amos swung his crowbar, smashing a thug's machete. The clang ringing. Jayla hurled her hammer, clipping a thug's shoulder, his pipe clattering. Ethan charged, tackling a thug, his tire iron cracking ribs, sending him down. A machete swung, grazing Ethan's arm, blood dripping. But he spun, his fist connecting, the thug collapsing. Jayla scrambled onto a shelf, shoving engine blocks, metal crashing, tripping 2 thugs. Amos wrestled another, his crowbar locking a wrist, slamming the man into a wall, plaster crumbling. The man in the suit lunged for Jayla, grabbing her leg, his shout sharp. The ring, Kid Jayla kicked, her wrench swinging, grazing his temple, blood spattering. Ethan tackled the man, his knee pinning his chest, his voice a snarl. Who's paying? Grayson? The man choked, gasping, you will see. A truck revved, its battering ram smashing the door, metal buckling. Jayla cranked a winch, dropping tires, blocking the breach, her hands raw, her shout defiant. Keep them out. Ethan yanked a thug from the ram, smashing his pipe into the truck's engine, sparks flying, disabling it. The man in the suit scrambled to a truck, his voice a hiss. Dawn tomorrow. His engines roared, trucks retreating, dust swirling, his phone pinging kids his. Up the stakes. Ethan's chest heaved, his arm bleeding, his eyes on Jayla, her wrench still raised, her breath ragged. You okay? He asked, stepping closer, his voice soft. Jayla nodded, her fingers on the ring, her voice firm. I'm not scared. Amos dropped his crowbar, his face grim, his voice low. "She's Clara's kid." "All right." Ethan sank to a crate. The DNA results in hand, his mind racing. Jayla was his, but Grayson's leak had painted a target. "We're not running," Ethan said, his voice steel, pulling Jayla close, her fire unyielding. "You're my dad," she whispered, her eyes searching, the wrench lowering. Ethan nodded, his throat tight. "Always will be." Amos barred the door, his crowbar ready, the media's drone circling, Grayson's threat looming. But Jayla's ring glinted about a fight, Clara's legacy alive in her daughter's courage. Ethan's arm throbbed, blood seeping through the rag wrapped around his wound. The garage's battered walls, a grim reminder of Grayson's last assault. Jayla, his newly confirmed daughter, stood on a workbench, her wrench clutched tight, her diamond ring, Clara's ring glinting under flickering lights, her eyes scanning the chaos outside. News vans choked the desert road, reporters shouting, drones buzzing, their cameras live streaming the billionaire's secret daughter saga. Amos, her grandfather, jammed a steel rod against the door, his crowbar bloodied, his voice a snarl. "This circus will get us killed." Ethan's jaw clenched, the DNA results in his pocket, a burning truth, his tire iron resting on a crate. Grayson's playing the crowd. He growled, his phone buzzing with Vargas's warning. Bald player from Clara's past surfaced. Name's Kessler. He's with Grayson now. Ethan's blood ran cold. Kessler, Clara's former partner at the clinic, the man she'd cut ties with before the fire. Jayla's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. "Who's Kessler?" Ethan's fist hit a workbench, tools rattling. "Trouble. He knows Clara's secrets." The garage shook, a news chopper's blades thumping overhead, its spotlight flooding the yard. Ethan yanked a tarp over the Mustang, his voice urgent. "We're moving, now!" Jayla jumped down, grabbing her toolbox, her shout fierce. "I'm not hiding!" Amos gripped her arm, his crowbar raised. "You're a target, kid!" Ethan tossed her a nod, his eyes steel. "Stick with me." They bolted for the Mustang, Ethan flooring the quay, tires screaming as they crashed through a makeshift gate, reporters scattering, drones diving. A black SUV peeled out from a dune, its driver Kessler grinning, his phone streaming, flanked by 4 trucks, thugs leaning out, pipes glinting. Holt Kessler's voice boomed through a megaphone, his tone mocking Clara's kid's mind. Ethan swerved, the Mustang lurching, gravel spraying, his growl fierce. "Hold on!" Jayla dove to the floorboard, her wrench ready, while Amos swung his crowbar, smashing a drone that swooped too close, its wreckage sparking. The SUV rammed the Mustang's bumper, metal crunching, Ethan's hands white-knuckling the wheel. The desert road a blur, Kessler's trucks fanned out, boxing them in, a thug firing a shotgun, pellets grazing the Mustang's hood, sparks flying. Ethan spun the wheel, skidding onto a side path, dunes shielding them. But Kessler's voice echoed, "You can't run!" Holt Jayla scrambled up, hurling a bolt from her toolbox, cracking a truck's windshield, the driver swerving. Amos leaned out, his crowbar smashing a thug's pipe, the clang ringing, sending the man tumbling into sand. Ethan floored it, the Mustang roaring up a ridge, but Kessler's SUV crested behind, its headlights glaring. "He's got Clara's files," Ethan snarled, his mind racing. Kessler had betrayed Clara, sold her out to Grayson's network. A rocket launcher flashed in a thug's hands, the missile streaking, exploding ahead, sand erupting, the Mustang swerving to dodge debris. Jayla's scream pierced the chaos, her wrench swinging, clipping a drone's rotor, its crash sparking. Ethan's eyes locked on a canyon ahead, its narrow mouth a gamble brace. He gunned the engine, the Mustang plunging into the gap, walls scraping metal, Kessler's trucks too wide to follow. The SUV skidded, Kessler cursing, his phone pinging, flanked them at the exit. Ethan's chest heaved, the canyon's shadows swallowing them, but headlights flickered at the far end. Kessler's backup. Jayla grabbed a flare from her toolbox, lighting it, its red glow blazing, tossing it to blind a thug's aim, his shot going wide. Amos wrestled a thug who'd leaped onto the hood, his crowbar locking the man's arm, shoving him off, the thug rolling into dust. Ethan swerved, the Mustang bursting from the canyon, but a spike strip glinted, shredding a tire. The car lurching. Out Ethan shouted, kicking the door open, tire iron raised, shoving Jayla behind a boulder. Kessler's trucks screeched up, 6 thugs charging, machetes and chains swinging. Ethan tackled one, his tire iron cracking ribs, blood spattering. Jayla hurled her wrench, striking a thug's knee, his chain clattering. Amos swung his crowbar, smashing a machete, the thug howling. Kessler stepped from the SUV, a pistol raised, his voice cold. Clara hid her from me. Now she's leverage. Ethan dove, tackling Kessler, the gun firing, a bullet grazing Amos's leg, his grunt sharp. Jayla scrambled, grabbing a rock, smashing Kessler's phone, its screen shattering, cutting his stream. Ethan wrestled the pistol free, pinning Kessler, his fist connecting, blood dripping. A thug swung a chain, grazing Ethan's shoulder, but Jayla lunged, her flare shoved into the thug's jacket, sparks erupting, sending him screaming. Amos limped forward, his crowbar slamming a thug's arm, bones cracking. Kessler kicked free, diving for a truck, his shout venomous. This isn't over. His engine roared, trucks peeling out, dust swirling, his radio crackling. Regroup at the city. Take the kid alive. Ethan's arm bled, his tire iron dripping, his eyes on Jayla, her flare still smoking, her breath ragged. You okay? He asked, his voice low, pulling her close. Jayla nodded, her fingers on the ring, her voice firm. He's not getting me. Amos clutched his leg, his crowbar steady, his voice gruff. Clara ran from him. Now we fight. Ethan sank to a rock, the Mustang crippled. Kessler's betrayal a knife in his gut. Clara had fled Kessler's greed, protecting Jayla from his grasp. He wants you to control me, Ethan said, his voice steel. The DNA results a vow in his pocket. Jayla's eyes blazed, her wrench retrieved. I'm not his. The chopper's spotlight swept back, reporters closing in, drones circling, the media storm relentless. Ethan yanked a tarp from a dune, covering them, his voice urgent. We hit the city. Find Grayson's base. Jayla's toolbox clattered, her flare extinguished, her shout defiant. For Mom, Amos limped, his crowbar ready, his eyes on the horizon. Kessler's trucks a fading threat, but the city loomed, a battlefield where Clara's secrets would ignite. Ethan's hand gripped Jayla's, her ring a beacon, their bond unbreakable. The media's glare a gauntlet they'd shatter together. Ethan's boots pounded the city's asphalt, the warehouse's steel doors glinting under flickering streetlights. Grayson's base a fortress of menace. Jayla clutched her wrench, the diamond ring on her finger flashing. Her eyes locked on the shadows. Amos limped, his crowbar dripping blood, his growl low. We're walking into hell. Ethan's tire iron gleamed, the DNA results in his pocket a burning vow, his voice steel. Grayson ends tonight. Drones buzzed, media choppers slicing the sky, their spotlights hunting since the canyon chase. Vargas's voice crackled through Ethan's earpiece. Marek's inside. Grayson's enforcer. Kessler's with him. They're rigged to blow. Ethan's jaw clenched. Kessler's betrayal a fresh wound, his fist tightening. They want Jayla. They get me. Jayla's wrench twitched, her shout fierce. I fight too. Ethan nodded, his eyes hard. Stay sharp. He hurled a brick, shattering a floodlight, shadows swallowing them. Two thugs patrolled, pipes swinging. Ethan lunged, tire iron cracking one's skull, the other tackled by Amos, his crowbar snapping an arm, bones crunching. Jayla pried a vent, slipping through, Ethan and Amos scrambling after. The warehouse's air thick with gasoline. Marek's voice boomed, "Holt's here." "Burn him?" Kessler's pistol clicked, his laugh venomous. Crates loomed. Clara's stolen files stacked on a rigged table. Tripwires glinting. Grayson's scrawl clear. "Break Holt. Take the girl." Ethan's blood surged. His whisper sharp, traps everywhere. Marek emerged, machete flashing, 7 thugs flanking, chains rattling. Ethan charged, tire irons smashing a thug's ribs, blood spraying. Jayla hurled her wrench, clipping a thug's temple, his chain clattering. Amos swung his crowbar, shattering a thug's jaw, teeth skittering. Marek's machete slashed, grazing Ethan's arm, blood dripping. But Ethan dove, tackling him, tire iron pinning his wrist, the blade skidding. Kessler fired, a bullet sparking off a crate, Jayla ducking, her flare igniting, its red blaze blinding a thug, his shot going wide. She cranked a chain hoist, a steel beam crashing, crushing 2 thugs, dust exploding. Ethan wrestled Marek, his knee slamming the enforcer's chest, his snarl fierce Grayson's plan. Talk Marek choked, spitting, he's watching. A thug's chain grazed Amos's leg, blood seeping, but he spun, crowbar cracking a collarbone, the man collapsing. Jayla scrambled onto a conveyor, its motor roaring, ramming a thug into a wall, plaster bursting. Kessler aimed at her, his pistol steady, but Ethan vaulted a crate, tackling him, the gun firing, shattering a pipe, steam hissing. Jayla tossed her flare, sparking Kessler's sleeve, flames erupting, his scream piercing as he dove for a bucket. Ethan pinned him, fist smashing his jaw, Kessler's phone skidding, Grayson's live feed flashing. "Kill them now." Amos wrestled a thug, his crowbar locking a wrist, slamming him into a generator. Sparks flying. Marek roared, kicking free, his machete swinging. But Jayla yanked a tripwire, a crate stack toppling, pinning Marek. His machete clattering. Ethan grabbed Clara's files, her warnings raw. Grayson wants everything. Save Jayla. A timer blinked on the table, explosives, seconds ticking. Ethan's heart pounded, his shout urgent. "Run!" Jayla sprinted, wrench in hand. Amos limping, crowbar swinging to clear a path. Kessler staggered up, grabbing a detonator, his voice a hiss. "You're dead." Ethan tackled him, wrenching the device, smashing it, the timer freezing. Marek crawled, bloodied, but Jayla hurled a bolt, striking his hand, his machete useless. A blast shook the warehouse, a rickety crate detonating early, flames licking the walls, shrapnel flying. Ethan shielded Jayla, his arm bleeding, shoving her through a side exit. Amos diving after, the warehouse collapsing. Marek trapped. Kessler's screams fading. Drones swarmed, their cameras streaming, choppers roaring. Ethan torched Clara's files, flames swallowing Grayson's plans, smoke rising. They bolted, dodging reporters, slipping into a sewer grate, the city's underbelly a fleeting shield. At the garage, Ethan barred the door, Jayla on a crate, her wrench trembling, her eyes wet. "We stopped them." Ethan knelt, his hand cupping her face, his voice raw. "You're Clara's fire. I failed her, not you." Amos leaned against a wall, his crowbar still, his voice hoarse. She'd be proud. Ethan's chest tightened, guilt and love colliding. "I'm your dad. Always." Jayla's ring glinted, her nod firm. "I know." Sirens wailed, media vans closing in. But Ethan stepped into a floodlight, Jayla beside him, her wrench tucked away, the ring blazing. "Jayla's my daughter." He roared, cameras flashing, drones hovering. Clara's legacy is hers. Grayson's done. Reporters surged, but Jayla's hand gripped his, her voice steady. "We're together. Ethan's eyes met hers, his vow unbreakable. Forever. Amos watched, his crowbar at rest, the garage scarred but standing, Grayson's empire crumbling, the ring a beacon of Clara's sacrifice, their family forged in fire. Ethan slammed the duffel onto the stage, his tire iron clanking inside, his growl cutting through the engine's roar. Grayson's watching. Stay sharp. Jayla gripped her wrench, the diamond ring, Clara's ring, flashing on her finger, her eyes scanning the convention hall's crowd. Amos leaned on his cane, his crowbar traded for stealth, his whisper fierce, "He'll hit here." Ethan's suit hid the DNA results, a vow in his pocket, his fists primed, drones hummed, cameras flashing for the Holt heiress since the warehouse fight. Vargas's voice crackled in Ethan's earpiece. Grayson's got a shooter. Slade. Events the target. Ethan's jaw clenched. The car launch at Clara's prototype, a stage to honor her. Jayla's fingers brushed the ring, her voice steady. "Mom's with us." Ethan nodded, his throat tight. Forever. The prototype gleamed, its curves Clara's dream. Ethan stepped to the mic, Jayla beside him, the crowd roaring, banners flashing. Holt Motors. "Jayla's my daughter," he declared, camera zooming, our lead technician. Jayla's chin lifted, the ring blazing, her grin fierce, applause erupting. Amos scanned backstage, his cane tapping, eyes catching a glint. Slade, Grayson's operative, weaving through texts, a silenced pistol drawn, his phone pinging, "Kill the kid." "Break Holt." Vargas shouted, "Shooter." West Wing Ethan yanked Jayla behind the prototype, his tire iron flashing. Slade fired, the bullet grazing the car's fender, sparks flying, the crowd screaming, diving under seats. Jayla slid beneath the stage, wrench raised, her shout defiant. "He won't ruin this." Amos lunged, his cane cracking, Slade's elbow, the pistol skidding, but Slade drew a blade, slashing, nicking Amos's forearm. Blood dripping, Ethan tackled Slade, tire iron smashing his collarbone. Bones snapping, the man crumpling. Security charged, but Slade rolled, snatching a tech stun gun, firing. Prongs sparking past Ethan, igniting a banner. Flames surging. Jayla sprang up, wrench swinging, clipping Slade's shin, his knife clattering. Ethan pinned him, knee on his chest, snarling. "Where's Grayson?" Slade choked, spitting. He sees everything. A drone smashed a window, Grayson's voice hacking the feed. Holt's finished and Ethan crushed the drone, its wreckage smoking. But Slade ripped a gas canister's valve, fumes hissing, the crowd coughing, alarms screaming. Jayla grabbed a fire extinguisher, foam blasting, her voice fierce. "We're holding this." Ethan wrestled Slade, tire iron locking his wrist, slamming him into a beam, plaster bursting. Amos limped forward, cane jabbing Slade's ribs, the operative collapsing, blood pooling. Jayla cranked a stage pulley, a light rig crashing, pinning Slade, his gasps fading. Ethan sealed the canister, fumes fading, security cuffing Blade, hauling him away. The prototype stood, its shine unbroken. Ethan pulled Jayla close, her wrench steady, her breath ragged. "You good?" She nodded, the ring glinting, her voice firm. "Mom's dream lives." Amos sank onto a crate, his cane bloody, his grunt low. Clara's watching. Ethan faced the crowd, mic in hand, cameras rolling. "This car," he said, voice raw, "is Clara's heart. Jayla carries it." He raised her hand, the ring radiant, her jumpsuit streaked with foam, her fire blazing. "Kindness wins," Jayla said, her voice clear. The crowd cheering, tears flowing. Ethan's chest tightened, pride and pain colliding. "I'm your dad." "Always." Jayla's eyes locked on his. Her nod, "Sure I know." The stage lights blazed, the prototype's engine roaring, a pulse of hope. Vargas signaled at Slade's spilling. Grayson's exposed. Ethan's fist clenched. The war nearly won. The ring, Clara's love unyielding. Days later, the garage thrummed. Jayla tuning an engine, her wrench flying. The ring shining. Amos welded a chassis, his cane nearby. His hum steady. Ethan sketched a blueprint. Clara's vision alive in their hands. A news alert flashed. Grayson arrested. Network shattered. Ethan's shoulders eased. His voice soft. We kept our promise. Clara. Jayla looked up, her smile bright. For Mom. The garage door swung wide, sunlight spilling in. Their family a bastion. The ring eternal. Their future a road fearless and free, forged in courage and love. From a desert crash to a triumphant car launch, Ethan and Jayla's fight for Clara's legacy united them. Thanks for joining us. Like, share, and subscribe to catch every thrilling moment. Hit the bell for our latest stories, and let's keep the journey alive together.